Alright, so let's continue, and in this video we will be walking through the same points but from a technical perspective, so that we have a kind of rough roadmap, you can call it, which will guide us through the entire thing. So yeah, let's do that. And for it I'm going to use an application called draw.io. Now it's a very popular diagram generating application, and I recently got to know that they have a VS Code extension. So I've already installed it, and all you have to do is, after you install it, is to create a file with .draw.io extension. It's that simple, and it automatically generates the view in such a way. So now let's continue, and let's start with point A, the first part of the entire thing. So for that, the first thing to consider is the Google Sheet, and for it let's add it over here and call it Google Sheet. So this Google Sheet, don't mind my squeaky chair. Anyway, so this Google Sheet that we have, it's going to serve as the database, the data source of our application. So we can call it a database in this case. That rhymes. Alright, so we will be communicating, we're going to access it using APIs, in this case particularly the Google APIs. And the other thing to keep in mind is that we will be just accessing a single Google Sheet on our Google account, and in order to do that we will be using service accounts, because I think service account would be the best one, because we are just accessing resource which is available on our account only. So we don't have to do OAuth or any of it. We just need we can go with service account. Alright, so that's that. And for that also, because we will be communicating with Google APIs, it means we need to have a server. And initially I was thinking of Node.js, the Express, as the server, but then I thought, why not NextJS? Because if we go with NextJS, then we will have everything in a single place. We don't have to manage each one of them, we won't have to manage each one of them in an isolate environment. We're gonna have everything in a single place. Oh, 1 second. Alright, so it means we will also be having a Next.js app. So using the Google APIs, we're gonna fetch the data out of this Google Sheet. And let's make it as such. Oops, that's way too small. Yeah, I think that's perfect. So after we get the data, then we will be formatting it, and then we will be rendering the items on the UI with a add to cart button and all of that jazz. Basically rendering a UI for the customers or the user, you can call it. So once a user adds a few item or maybe a single item to their cart and they place an order, for that let me place a user. Why is this stretched? I think that's much better. So once a user places an order on our store, I don't really want to call it a store because of it lacking the user authentication thingy, but I think let's just call it e-commerce store. But I guess you do get the point what I'm trying to convey. So when a user places an order, then we need to do a couple of things. And for that, when they send off the request, when they add the item, they enter their details, their full name, the address, the email address, which is required because we will be using that in order to avoid misuse. I've been thinking about it for a while now, so let me just state it right over here. So when a user places an order on our e-commerce store, then what we can do in order to avoid the misuse, we will use the user email ID, the email address which they provide, and we're going to send off a verification / confirmation email to their email account. So for that, let's put it over here. Send confirmation link, more of like a link to their users mail account, and that mail is going to contain the link, and we're going to have something like, you must have seen, click on this link if you want to confirm the order, and if they do that, then the order will be confirmed. So that's that. And yeah, I mean, if I think about it, then this thing, although it may, like, it's mandatory in this case, but let's just not get into what tech to use to implement. Anyway, forget that. So the thing is, during that time period, like during the time between, like after they place an order and before they confirm the order by clicking on the link, during that time period we need to retain that data someplace, obviously, because only after they do that, then we will be saving that order. And I'm thinking of, like, once the order has been confirmed, and for that let me just continue it over here. Order confirmed, user clicked on the link, something like this. So once the user clicks on the link, once the user clicked on the link, then we will have to do a couple of things, because at that time we are sure that, all right, so this is an authentic order, so we need to save that order someplace for us to view it. And for that, I'm thinking of the same Google Sheet. I mean, why not? Like, we can use the same Google Sheet, but maybe a different worksheet. And I know that it may not make much sense to you if you have no experience with spreadsheets, but a single spreadsheet can have multiple worksheets. We will get back to it at a later point, but the thing to keep in mind is that we're going to save that entry in the same sheet. So let's list it over here. Add entry to the G sheet, orders list, or add entry to the orders list. Oops, 1 second. Let's place it over here. Now I could have kind of created the diagram beforehand and just showed it to you while recording, but I mean, that's not the goal of this series. It's more on the part of being transparent. So maybe at times might be mumbling around and like thinking it through. But that's raw. That's the raw footage of the entire thing. Anyway, so once the user clicked on the link, then we have to add new entry to the orders list, we can call it, in the G sheet. Doesn't matter if this thing doesn't make sense right now, we will get back to it once we start implementing the same things, like the same features. Alright, so that's the first point. We're gonna add a new entry, and then we will also be notifying ourselves that, alright, so a new order has been created, and for that maybe receiving oops, I think I made a typo. It's saving. Is it receiving? Yep, that's what it is. Receiving, maybe we receive an email to our account, and along with that, maybe, because I'm really pushing on to the idea of receiving a push notification, it kind of gives you the feel of like actually getting an order. So for that, let's add another one. Along with the email, we can get receive a push notification, and maybe on Slack, because I have worked on a project where like we implemented this feature. And why even receive an email? I mean, like, just receiving a push notification makes sense, and the order itself will be added to the orders list. So I think these two events should happen when the user confirms the order by clicking on the link. So I mean, that's good. And for the email, like for this part, we have to think about it. Like, we have to have, maybe like during this period we can add another entry which on a unconfirmed list, something like that. Or maybe we can use a different service all alone. But the secondary objective, like the first objective, as you already know, of this series is to use Google Sheet as the database. But the secondary objective or the goal is to keep it a very low, to keep it free, you can call it, like to not spend, like to not have any sort of expense by using any service. So this part, like Google Sheet, it's free, although you may have to attach your credit card to your Google account, but the API in itself, for our case, it's free. And the other thing is NextJS, the deployment, we will be doing that on Vercel, which on the hobby plan is again free. The sending of email, this part, we can use third-party services like SendGrid, or maybe, I don't know, there are thousands of out there, so we can do that. But again, because I intend this thing to be free, like from all the different aspects, for that I think using Google API like Gmail would be sufficient. One second. Okay, so yeah, like using Gmail API, we can do that to send the mail. But the part that I'm not quite sure of, again, don't mind my squeaky chair. Again, the part that I'm still not sure about is the like retaining the data till the time user clicks on the link. Because when the user clicks on the link, so imagine it in this way. Let me zoom in. So in this mail, we will be having something like please click on the below link to confirm your order, something like that. And we will be having something like our app.com, and API we are using, like we're going to use NextJS, and the other one would be confirm order, and maybe something like order ID and the thing. So this would be random ID. So when the user visits this link, then I think that's much better. When the user visits this link, we're going to extract the ID out of it, and at that time we will have to query it through, like we will have to check some records to confirm it. All right, that does make sense, but I'm not sure about the database. Again, I want to keep it free, so like we can go with Firebase, but that would be an overkill for this case. Or not, maybe using Firestore. Or maybe I recently got to know about a service. Let me open it up. All right, I actually found it. It took me some time, but yeah. So this is a service called Deta.sh. It's pretty great. Like they provide a bunch of different things. You can spin up your Node.js applications. You can have a base which is their own NoSQL database, and also a drive which you can use to upload media files, and all of it is free. I'm not quite sure how, like what's the business angle behind of it, but it's pretty great actually. I have used it on a multiple different projects, and yeah, I mean, that's great. And don't worry about the reliability, because I did kind of, I've seen that they have raised quite a lot of money. Let's just not get into that, but the thing is, like, this is a reliable service, and using the base, like one of the things which they provide, the NoSQL database, would be great for our case specifically. So yeah, that's that. And let me just put it over here as well. Maybe we'll just keep it to ourselves for the moment. Let me actually, don't mind me kind of playing around with this thing. I do not really have much experience with this app. Anyway, so that would be it for this video. We just had a very low level discussion on the entire thing. How do I zoom out? Let me actually do that. It's really triggering me. Okay, that's perfect. All right, so that's that. This was a very, again, we can call it a low level discussion because we did walk through the entire thing from a technical perspective. So that's great. All right, so now let's just actually start with the development part from the next video. So see you then.